What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the motorcycle garage. Just on a little bit different today. If anyone saw my how to make a carbon fibre mudguard in under 10 minutes, they know the premise behind that video was to try and take almost half a year's worth of learnings and boil it into something for 10 minutes and 10 minutes useful content for people. So I'm trying to do the same today with these side panels that have been a labour of love for oh god, I don't even want to see how long it's been, but I thought it would be a good opportunity on the other bike that I'm building just now. It's also an XS750, so I want to use all the hard work that's gone into making these side panels. I want to use it again, so it's not all just one hit wonder. So before I do that, I'm just going to take the opportunity to go through the design process, the failures, the rage, and yeah, hopefully give you enough information so that anyone wants to do the same thing, they can avoid making the same mistakes that I did. So let's kick off. Yes. Need a beer. So, the design process. I wanted side panels. I wanted three-dimensional side panels, and I quickly realised that I didn't have the ability to do that out of metal because I don't do much kind of handcrafting and shaping with metal. It's not really my forte. What is my forte is making shit on the computer, designing it in CAD, and then trying to turn it into something using more modern manufacturing techniques. Initially I didn't try that though. Initially I tried making a design. So I had in my mind I wanted to fill that void behind me. I didn't like all the cafe racers that were coming out that didn't have side panels. I think a side panel is a great addition to a bike. It gives it a bit of depth at the back end. So a lot of the designs that I saw were either just flat, they were one dimensional, they didn't really look that good. So I wanted to try and take something that was in my mind, enthusiasm and creative artistic license taken from the things like your CB750, those kind of side panels, and turn them into something that would fit on that bike. But this process isn't just for this bike, this process would work for anything. So hopefully this helps. But for me, I had a design in my head, what I wanted it to look like. I initially thought I could try and make that out of a wooden buck with some clay on the top. And very quickly I realised that just wasn't going to happen. Yeah, I mean, cue me beating the shit out of clay because I got so annoyed after an hour and a half trying to shape something. Knowing that I would then have to do that on the other side, that wasn't really going to work for me. So I quickly then moved on to what else can we do. So my dad at the time had a 3D printer, so I thought, right, okay, well let's go to CAD. I've used CAD before in the past. It's something I've done as part of university, as part of just being a hobbyist user of CAD. So I used Fusion 360, as you can see here, and I generated the idea of what I wanted. Initial thoughts was to try and 3D print that. So yeah, once I made this, you can see running through it, it's quite a complex shape. It's got multiple planes, multiple shapes. Initially all I did was take a picture of said triangular area, and then I took that picture, transferred it to CAD, got a reference length off the bike, made sure that my picture was calibrated, and then I knew everything that I designed there forward was like going to be accurate and going to fit, and it does fit. You can see in this little cutaway that's exactly what I was going for. This is obviously the finished one of the final prototypes. After that, it was a case of putting the design, taking it from the computer and then turning it into something, turning it into reality. So that was 3D printer initially. My dad's 3D printer was the first protocol, and actually seeing the bit that I designed initially it looked a bit wrong when it was in the bike, because I was able to have printed the panel itself. But I realised I then, so I redesigned it, and then I went down this path of, right, now I've got what I want, can I make a mould out of that? So I used the part itself to try and make a reverse off so I could continually make a few parts, thinking that there may be a market in the XS750s if these things look nice that people may want to buy them. So I wanted to try and have a repeatable mould. So initially I tried to make a mould, and that didn't work at all. That ended up, there was no draft angle. Draft angle being the part itself needed to have an angle on it so that whatever I was taking a mould of, that part could come out of it again, and there was no draft angle there. So that initial attempt to take a mould from the 3D printed side panel was fruitless. So then I changed my tact a little bit, and I went down a path of going back to CAD and then designing a few mould boxes using the actual panel itself. So I knew that I wanted this shape. Why did I not just 3D print the mould box itself and make it a flange profile? You can see here, planes. So this itself, you can see the CAD and you can see the final thing. I made this split in two halves so that it would come apart. It's held together with bolts, and I 3D printed that. So yeah. The next bit, the next saga. Once we figured out on a solution, I decided that the 3D printer my dad had wasn't big enough, so I went and bought a Creality CR10, which has a much bigger print area. So that in itself was good, but then you're printing these things, depending on what way you print them, and how you print them, and what speed you print them, impacts the final quality. So I printed these in two halves. I think initially I printed them, if you imagine the beds there, I printed them like this, so I built it up in layers. That itself worked alright, but I did it with and without support material for this top bit, so there's a lot of post preparation needed for the mould. It wasn't so much and the mould wasn't that strong, so when I actually first bolted these together and did a part, the surface needed prepped, and then when I tried to break them apart, they didn't come apart very easily. You ended up getting quite rough with the mould itself to try and get the bit out, and it wasn't really that durable. So I've been through various iterations of moulds now. This one here, for example, is one that I've used already to make this part. This is one for the bike behind me. Like I said at the start, we're going to be using this for the next mould. So this one here, it's been prepped with dolphin glaze filler, and this takes away any of the ridges of the 3D print that's left behind. This one here has been printed out of PLA. This is for the other side. PLA? PETG, sorry, which is a more robust 3D printing type material. And I printed this a different way. I printed this on its back for one side, and then the other one on its back, and that's given me a different layer line, a much cleaner inside. So I've not prepped this as much because I actually think this should just work. So yeah, that covers the molds. The next bit's the making of the panel itself. So delicious beer, God never leave me. Oh yes, the making as well, right? So these are made out of fiberglass, and I have made, fucking hell, 1, 2, all of these, all varying degrees of quality, all with slightly different things. Some of these are actually alright, and I don't know why. Yeah, there's bits here, it's hard to see, I'll give you some close-ups, but they don't meet the remote recycled ultra high quality. Even though no one's going to see this and it'd cover it all up, they just don't match that that quality that I look for. So this one does. This one has a nice smooth finish. It's going to get filler on it anyway, smooth, sanded down, whatever, and the profile is really nice in it, and it's been captured perfectly. And it's exactly the shape that I want, but initially I tried to make it all with 3 big sheets of fiberglass. That didn't work. It led to bulging, led to some issues. So the process I do now is what you can see in the video, which is layered small sections of fiberglass have been cut. They're pre-wetted, they're put in, they're cut, and then you build up each layer, so 3 layers in total. Let that cure overnight, split the molds, and then you're left with a nice part at the end of it. That in itself sounds really easy. It took a while to get there. The next phase is to try and mount them. So for me, I've got a battery box that sits in there. I've made a nice mounting, I guess, thing. I still need to finalise how exactly it's going to stick on, but you get these clips. Again, I'll show you up close. So I've made this that allows me this to clip in, and then these 2 holes just to go in. So initial thinking was to get like a push fit connector, or like a bulbous end almost that goes into these holes. But this is where it gets quite difficult, because this needs to be mounted perfectly within that frame. It needs to be the right angle. It starts getting quite difficult. I think I've got it. I've actually had one of these on already. I'll see some footage from the other video. How I've mounted these little metal tabs on the inside. I've just folded them out of 1.6mm steel. And then I've used some blind rivets, countersunk rivets, to hold them to the actual side panel itself. And then however you want to choose to mount that to the bike. Yeah, I've got holes at the moment. I might do something different for this other bike, but... And then that's it, pretty much. You've then got a fiberglass part that can be prepped like any other fiberglass part. It can be primered, it can be painted. You've got reusable molds hopefully at the end of it, so if you're doing multiple bikes, then that could be a solution. This has been a long old process, and it's probably led to how this bike behind me has taken so long, but I am quite happy. Like, I'm happy with how they look. It's something different. There's no other bike XS750 I've seen that's got that, so hopefully now people have an understanding of what it takes to make custom side panels from composites. Could you make them out of carbon fibre? Probably yes, but part of the beauty of carbon fibre is just, I might even try and make one, but just the uniformity of the carbon weave, and you kind of want to get that around multiple parts, so it might be quite difficult to get that without stretching, or it's nicer on like a single profile, but it might be quite difficult. But that isn't to say it can't be done. So yeah, I just thought that the work and effort that's gone into this is worthy of a shortened video for people to look at. There's plenty of other videos. There's a bit of a saga. I appreciate people that have watched the saga, but for anyone who may just want a short condensed video to understand how to make them, then hopefully this helps a little bit. So yes, so me now, although you've probably just seen some of the footage in this video, it's a little bit like Videoception. I'm away to make these, let them cure overnight, and then I'll have 2 more side panels for that other bike out in the garage. All the fiberglass is pre-cut and ready to go. So I'm going to finish this beer, get some music on, and until next time, I will see you later. Cheers guys.